Welcome to the Executive Insights podcast. I'm Clarke Rodgers from the Office of the CISO and AWS Security. And today I'm joined by Amy Herzog, AWS CISO. Amy, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So you've been the AWS CISO now for a little over 6 months, and you came from another division inside of Amazon. Can you share a little bit about how the other division and our culture sort of prepared you for the role in AWS?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun going from customer to on the other side of the customer line and taking the AWS CISO role. I have been really excited to see the things that I appreciated as a customer of AWS, sort of how they are made and reinforced across our whole organization. I could tell when I was a customer of AWS how important security was to all of the service teams, all of the builders, in addition to the security team itself. And it's been wonderful coming to this side of the divide in seeing how that works day to day, how the service teams, sort of ask questions of security, think about what their customers want, and really bake that into how they develop their products. It's been fascinating. And it's been really great as a security team too, because it helps us do our job smoothly and faster. And that's something that's super important to me personally. I'm an impatient person. I like to do things cleanly and once. And the partnership that we have with the service teams here in AWS has really made my job a lot easier. It's much easier to take the teams through a very clean approach to security, thanks to the way that we do things here. It's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome to hear. You've spoken quite a bunch around security being an accelerator, right? So if we look at your background, you studied formal methods at MITRE. You did product security, of course, at Amazon with, I believe it's Ring and Alexa devices.
Yeah.
And, now you're at the largest hyperscale cloud provider in the world, right?
No pressure.
So no pressure at all. So how does that sort of security as an accelerator mindset transition across your career and what you're doing today?
Yeah, like I said, I think it's my inherent impatience maybe that drives it a little bit. And my time in business leadership roles before I came to Amazon to join the devices team really gave me an appreciation for the tight tie between customer expectations of security as part of the overall product that they're getting from us. And so I feel like through all stages of my career, I've seen different aspects of the elephant, if you will, of delivering a secure product, not just a product and security separately. And it's so important to accelerate too, because we as the security team want customers to have delightful experiences and get all of the goodness.
So you may have heard about this topic, AI. And at your time in Amazon devices, where you were responsible for the consumer side of AI, so with Alexa and Ring, et cetera, how did that prepare you for all the things that are going on with AI today, with generative AI, Agentic AI, et cetera, in securing cloud systems?
All of the businesses that I supported in my last role here at Amazon were experimenting and doing things with Gen AI. And I think it gave me a really deep understanding of what our AWS customers are going to want to do with this technology. And there are a few different themes that were important across the whole thing. So we're discovering that we don't yet know fully baked exactly how to get the best value out of this in the long term. The pace of change is constant. We know we're constantly learning. And so it's really important for me now in this role to make sure that we are offering security for our AI and agentic experiences that is decomposable, that can be changed, that can adapt with us and is agile as we learn more about how to use this technology effectively. And I'm delighted to find partners in the service teams in this. And we're working really hard to make sure that everything that we build from a security perspective gives customer control and allows them to change easily over time as they learn what they need to do with the technology.
How does AWS think about removing the complexity of what security teams are required to do? So when you think about on one side, a team that has not yet moved to the cloud, right? Or the organization hasn't even moved to the cloud. So they're still responsible for the data centers and everything like that, all the way to the most advanced customers that we have that are cloud native and doing everything that way. How do you think about AWS's mission to support the security teams themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of different things that can drive complexity for any given security team. Heterogeneity is a big one, and figuring out sort of what you want to achieve from a security perspective and then how you make sure that's true across a bunch of different environments that you support. I think that's one of the most complex types of challenges that our customers face because it means you sort of have to do the same type of security work however many times. And I think we're making that easy in a few ways. One, I think the using AWS gives you a big leg up just right out of the gate, right? We've built security in from the beginning. We know what it takes to understand the security of a system and gain trust in it from an assurance or a compliance perspective. When I've been in business leadership roles, one of the things that I've enjoyed is, okay, I just get all of this for free. Like I'll get all of this out of the box now, whether that's compliance evidence, whether that's, the strong isolation and authentication that we build into everything that we do, all of this basic stuff that's so important. And then one of the key principles that we keep in mind through all of our internal development is how will this adapt to different customer uses? Are we
Right.
going to constrain what a customer can do by virtue of the thing that we're building? We never want that to be true. We always want you to have options to make it work in your space. And then we also help you navigate it with the guidance that we've got around well-architected frameworks or the different papers and resources that we've got for customers to use it for specifically what they need to do. It's a neat tension and challenge, giving customers the controls that they need to be flexible and also help steer them to make good choices.
And to your point earlier about security as an accelerator, if we can take a lot of that heavy lifting away from the security teams, they can actually focus on helping their business innovate or do whatever other than watching the screens all the time.
That's
right?
right. I would really like for us to be able to give customers everything they need to do the undifferentiated stuff so that they can focus on the things that are uniquely important to the business they are supporting.
AWS has several services that makes that much easier for security teams. Could you talk about a couple of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I won't share the year because it's been a minute, but I remember way back when setting up a PKI from scratch, right? And getting, that whole thing set up. It's tons of people. It's months, if not years. There's many ways you can get it wrong and not know until later. Like it's just such a complicated thing. And now with KMS, I think, it's a bunch of clicks and minutes, not days or hours or months or years. And it's
And you
not
can get
tons
started
of teams.
showing value.
Right. Yeah. So that our ability to build that sort of stuff that everyone needs into easy to use services where we understand the user experience and there's a quick start to value. Like it's so humbling to be able to work on the team that delivers that stuff.
Or, for example, how easy it is to set up a threat intelligence network from scratch,
Right.
or use something like GuardDuty, right?
Right. Yeah. And get all of the threat intelligence that we get from our super unique vantage point over this huge network just automatically baked into your protections where you don't need to know, you don't need to care. We're just there protecting you using everything that we can see to make sure that the internet's a safer place.
So back to AI again. It's all over the place. In the news recently, there's been lots of coverage around the bad actors using AI. Not so much about the defenders using AI, right? How do you think about AI from a defensive perspective, both what you do internally at AWS to sort of protect AWS, but also how customers can think about that?
Yeah, I'm quite excited about this. The threat landscape is changing a little bit for sure, but I think we have a much bigger opportunity as defenders to make great use of AI to accomplish our goals. There's a lot of work on the defensive side of the security game that involves I'll use CJ's phrase, identifying the needle in the needle stack, right? Just taking in large amounts of information and figuring out what the interesting bits are within it. And that type of problem solving, it turns out, is something that Gen AI is pretty good at. And so internally, and then in my conversations with customers, we're really talking about identifying the specific sort of heavy lifting manual work analysis workflows where we can create, be it an agent or some other capability to solve a very specific subproblem. And I'm much more excited about that direction for defense. Like we've changed our log analysis prep time dramatically with use of tools like this than I am about some of the maybe more headline grabbing, bigger sweeping claims. I'd much rather use it to solve problems that it's very good at very quickly that help my humans do that super creative value add security work that sort of only we can do.
And that sort of shrinks the sort of security timeline to value.
Yes,
right?
exactly. That's right. That's right.
Identity is not leaving the news, right? There's a lot of coverage around the bad actors are not hacking in anymore; they're just logging in, right, to systems that aren't configured properly or securely. Where else do you see identity going from a security perspective?
I think the first bit of advice I might give to someone who's sort of thinking about identity in the next phase to come is that it's important not to fall into the trap of thinking about agents, especially as either human or services. They're sort of breaking our mold of what identity might mean, where there's non-determinism, there's choice, but it's not to the same degree, or it shouldn't be to the same degree that a human might have, particularly as we're learning that what agents are good at is solving one specific thing very well.
Okay.
That speaks to your ability to least privilege that particular agent and what it can do within freedom, but within a defined context. Nor are they services. They are not going to act the same way every time. So I think we need to move beyond this kind of duality of understanding what identity is. And I know we're working on all kinds of fun stuff and this will continue to evolve over time, but that's one area that I'd encourage everyone to think about in terms of identity. And then the other you mentioned, I think the world that we're moving into right now is going to make it ever more important for us to really take home the lessons that we've been talking about for the last 20 years around least privilege, around rotation, around our ability to make sure that should a credential get lost, we understand what it was used for, we can clean that up right away, and it's a non-issue.
It's doing the basics well.
It is
right?
doing the basics
And you
well.
have new tools to help you with it
That's
now, but at the end of the day, an identity is an identity.
That's right.
When we think about, or when you think about helping service teams being more secure and removing security as a blocker for them, right? So to make it easy, you've talked about the Security Guardians program in the past. Can you share a little bit more about that?
So for those who don't know, Guardians is our internal program where we have security advocates, builders on the team who are builders in the service team, who are very passionate about security and sort of act as our sort of close partners and thought leaders within the day-to-day context of a builder team. And this is a wonderful way to achieve security culture in a way that endures over time, where it's not the security team coming in, it's part of the builder team, recognizing and advocating that security is part of what we are delivering out of this, whatever organization you're in. The value that we get from the Guardians program, it's really important to remember that that's in the context of our larger culture of security at AWS. And I think sometimes this is, we can demystify this a little bit. It's something very special about working here. I'm very grateful to be part of it, but it's not like this is inaccessible to other organizations around the world. And I think there are a few keys to making sure that security culture is alive and healthy throughout your organization. One is that the importance of security to customers comes from the top here in AWS. So Andy Jassy and Steve Schmidt made conscious choices around our organizational structure, with Steve reporting to Andy, around Andy being interested and passionate about, and that carries through to Matt Garman and his leadership team, which carries through to their leadership teams. And that sort of top reinforcing importance is something that I wish more organizations sort of really understood, just how central it is to everything that we're able to do here.
And to be clear, you're talking about holding the business leaders accountable for security, which I think is unique.
That's right. Not just the security team, right. That security is everyone's job here. And if something has, if we're having a bad day or we find something, that it's not just my team who's answering for that. It's us together as a joint business and security team. And to make that work, right? To have that top level importance, to have that security as everyone's job, to make that turn into real goodness instead of if it's everyone's job, it's no one's job. We embed security expertise throughout the organizations. And the Guardians are an example of that, but also through the product development lifecycle, right? We understand what it looks like to have a good threat model. We understand what it looks like to have a good pre-launch review process. We know when and how we can use pen testing most effectively. And that we is, again, the joint business security we, where my business partners are just as interested in exactly where we're bringing the different parts of what our field can do to the table. And then I think the funnest part for me personally about this culture of security is that it really unlocks our ability to jointly innovate with our customers. Right? When we're thinking about agentic identity or how Gen AI is changing the world, this isn't the security team and the business team sort of ideating, greenfield in isolation. This is my engineers and the bedrock engineers getting together and
Right.
thinking, okay, what could we do here? What do our customers expect of us? What are they going to need once they figure out how to use this effectively? How will we be able to enable them to scale? And then it's that innovation across the security and business team together that really makes the magic happen. And we found a few lessons over the years that have been really key to this. One is they have to stay builders, right? This is not a model where we've got a security team embedded in a builder team. They have to feel like they're building and delivering for customers every day in order to be good partners with the security team to understand how we're accomplishing our work, how that's affecting their workflows, what tools they need, right? We need a real feedback loop between the security team and the Guardians. We don't need them to be the security team.
So the Guardian person or people on a particular service team, they have their quote unquote day job as developers and
Yeah.
building functionality. And through that, they say,
That's right.
hey, this is an issue where security could be streamlined, or maybe we provide this artifact or that artifact, that type of thing. Is
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a really important aspect of closing the security builder feedback loop because they're noticing the friction because they're feeling it every day. Like, oh, why are you asking me this question? I already gave you that information. Or, ooh, I'm really noticing that I'm having to do this tricky security thing. I know it's possible to get it wrong. We're having to do it again and again every time we build something new. Could you just build a primitive for us? That dynamic of that closed feedback loop is super key.
That's very helpful, because I think if you go too far the other way, then that's really just another security person on that team, and that doesn't bring you the value.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
you lose something there. Not that it's not important to have deep security partnership and embedding. It
For sure.
is. We do that too. But the Guardians are something slightly different.
With AI able to do so many things well, if I'm an up and coming developer or security professional, how should I be thinking about AI and AI tooling as part of doing my job? And then how do you think about it as a leader when you're looking across all of your different staffing models of maybe the teams that are more leaning more into AI and maybe the teams that are not leaning so much into AI?
Yeah, I think the fun thing that we're exploring right now and will continue to explore as this stuff evolves is that it does specific things well, but it does them very broadly. So across different contexts. And that's kind of the magic that we're seeing in our use of it internally now. And especially as we move from early experimentation or sort of small scale use of this technology to getting value out of it more broadly, is that you have to be clear about the kinds of problems it's good at solving and then where you can apply them across your work program. And so if I'm in either a developer role or on the security team, I want to think about it as just another tool in my toolbox to achieve my ultimate goal. And there are a couple of things that you kind of need to do that well. One, you need to know where you're aiming for. And in security, that's reducing risk or preventing or eliminating vulnerabilities, but also if you intention sometimes or maybe helped by Gen AI, in this case, you got to do that quickly and you have to do that efficiently so that we can accelerate innovation with the business. And as long as folks are thinking about this as one tool that you can use rather than the tool that solves everything, I think you're going to be way ahead, right? The best results of the future are going to be a creative human with an agent at their side, not an agent being applied to every different kind of problem, if that difference makes sense.
It does. So as the security professional is looking at AI, if I heard you correctly, all the things I know about security still apply.
Right.
Risk reduction, vulnerability management, all those kinds of things. How do I either build a tool to do this thing for me or evaluate a tool in such a way that it would meet my end goal or my security outcome?
That's right. And sometimes that's going to be an agent that already exists. Sometimes you're going to build it yourself. We need to make it easy for security engineers to do that kind of building and experimentation, which I'm very excited about, the progress that we're making there. But ultimately, we're still trying to achieve the same mission at the end of the day. And I think perhaps one of the biggest types of changes that we're seeing so far on the development side is that one of the things this is good at is helping us write more code sort of better with better understood test suites and cases. And that's very exciting, sort of unlocking the ability to develop and build more tooling than we could before is really exciting as a security team, particularly one at our scale.
For sure.
Yeah.
So for a crystal ball moment then, what does the security professional look like 3 or 5 years from now?
So, I think a security professional 3 or 5 years from now looks quite a lot like security professionals today, in that in our field, change is constant, curiosity is crucial. We are approaching every problem, every situation with the mindset of, what if it didn't go the way we expect it to? What would happen if? Like, these are core questions that draw us to the security field to begin with.
The curiosity.
Right?
Yep.
And that's going to be the same. That's going to be the same 3 to 5 years from now. Will the tools you have in your toolbox look different? Yeah, I really think they will. I think there's enduring value that we're unlocking through the use of Gen AI right now. That's not going away. But I could say the same thing about CI/CD. I could say the same thing about sort of our ability to take disparate events and weave them into a potential threat picture, the threat intelligence work we're doing. The tools we have now look very different than they did 5 years ago. Times of change can always be unsettling, and there is certainly a lot of change going on right now. But I just want to say we got this. We've been through in our careers several big sort of threat model changing moments, and we're going to navigate through this with the same curiosity and creativity that we've done with all of the previous challenges. And I'm very excited for us to be in a time where what we need to bring to the table is that creativity and innovation. I think we're naturally those types of folks who are in this field. And so, don't fret. It's going to be okay. We're going to work through this together, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Amy, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.